everyone. This is Renee. I want to show you some hip stretches today using a wall. I give these to almost all of my patients. These are great for anyone who has low back pain, hip pain, pelvic pain, or pelvic floor muscle dysfunction. So that could look like pelvic pain, low back pain, hip pain, or it could look like urinary problems, urgency, frequency, or incontinence. It could look like bowel issues, constipation, or urgency or frequency. So these are good for almost anybody. They're borrowed from restorative yoga. So these are technically yoga poses. We're using them as a stretch. Stretches should be done for at least 30 seconds, probably up to 2 minutes. With restorative yoga though, these poses are held for 5 to 10 minutes. So if something feels really good, you could hold it longer. By all means, if something does not feel good, don't do it. It's a stretch. It should feel like a good stretch. Maybe not necessarily comfortable, but definitely not painful. Most people feel more comfortable with a yoga bolster. I'm at home, I don't have a yoga bolster, so this is a fleece blanket wrapped in a bath towel, secured with duct tape. So that's my yoga bolster today. You want something that won't flatten out when you put pressure on it. So that's why I double wrapped here. Okay, so follow along with me. Again, if something doesn't feel good to you, don't do it. And you could always contact your therapist and ask for a modification that feels better. I'm going to run through each stretch twice, and one time with the bolster, one time without the bolster. So here we go. To get into these poses, the hardest part is getting down to the floor and getting in the right position. If you start out with a bunch of space between you and the wall, when you lay down, you're going to be really far away. This doesn't feel like a stretch to me. So you need to start close to the wall. Trying to get closer, not very easy in this position. Your best bet is to come back to sitting and try again. So start with your hips right next to the wall, literally right next to the wall. That way, once you're down, you're pretty darn close to the wall here. I'm going to use the bolster first. So to get the yoga bolster in place, use the wall to lift your hips. Put it in a comfortable place. First stretch, legs up the wall, narrow legs up the wall. Holding this for at least 30 seconds. You could keep in mind most people take about 18 to 22 breaths a minute. So that means 30 seconds would be 9 to 11 breaths. So take 10 normal breaths and you've held a stretch for 30 seconds. I also like to have people do a nerve glide in this position. That looks like an ankle pump. So basically, you're going to point and flex your ankle to glide the nerves through all the tissue between your lumbar spine and your feet. This is not a nerve glide. If you're just moving your toes, that's not what we want. Move your whole ankle. About 5 to 10 times would be good. And rock the legs out and in. I call this windshield wipers. I don't know why. I guess it looks like windshield wipers. Okay, that was 10 times. If this feels like a really good stretch, stay here longer. There's no wrong amount of time. Unless your feet start to go numb or get tingly, or if you feel like you don't get good blood flow, then it's too long, obviously. Stretch number 2, wide legs up the wall. It should feel like a comfortable stretch at the inner thigh. So you might not go so far, you might take it a little further. Again, this stretch is about 30 seconds or 10 breaths, up to 2 minutes. In restorative yoga, this would be 5 to 10 minutes in this position. If your feet start to go numb, tingly, if you get a spasm anywhere, let yourself back to narrow legs up the wall. Same in this position, add in a nerve glide, point and flex the ankles. And rock the legs in. All this motion is coming from the hips. So it's not just the feet moving around, it's your whole leg rolling in and rolling out. Bringing the legs back to narrow. Put the bottom of your feet together and come into a butterfly stretch. You can bring those heels as close to your body as you can. Again, this should feel more like an inner thigh stretch or a groin stretch. This would be, again, a 30-second to 2-minute restorative yoga, 5 to 10-minute pose. There's not a nerve glide for this position, but if it felt good, you could rock your body side to side. And I always think of it as like rocking a baby. You're just trying to rock any muscle tension out of your body. So keep it nice and easy, comfortable, just like you're rocking a baby. Keeping one leg in butterfly, let the other leg out to the side. Kind of like a runner stretch in gym class on the floor, but this is, I call it half butterfly on the wall. Holding here for at least 10 breaths. And point and flex the foot, nerve glide. Glide the nerves from your lumbar spine all the way to the foot through all the little tubes and tissues where the nerves live. And also from the hip, rock out and rock in. Bring this foot back to butterfly. Let the other leg out wide. Half runner stretch or half butterfly. Holding here for 10 breaths or 30 seconds at least. And add in that nerve glide. Point and flex from the ankle. And rock the leg out and in from the hip. Bring this foot back to butterfly and take the legs back up the wall. Narrow legs up the wall. Last one here is for the back side of the hips. You'll feel it out in the gluteal area. It's for the piriformis muscle. I call it the figure 4 because you start out with your legs looking like the number 4. Slowly slide that heel down the wall until you feel a stretch in the opposite hip. So I feel this stretch in the flexed leg hip. You keep coming down, keep your hips on the floor or the bolster, and you hold. 10 breaths at least. Be careful here if you do start to feel numb in the foot. Some people's sciatic nerve runs right through this pathway, and by stretching this muscle, we might compress on a nerve. If that's the case, back out of the stretch, or you're done with the stretch. Move and rock your legs side to side. Actually, rocking side to side is nice in this position as well. Good. I've got a little burn going on in this flexed hip. It doesn't feel like pain, but I know something's going on over here. So I know I'm okay with this. I know I have a lot of tightness here. Lift this leg back up, release, opposite side. Keep your hips on the bolster, slide down. This side's tighter for me, so I'm not gonna go as far. I feel it right here in my outer hip. And I'm gonna breathe, thinking about letting go of that tension. This is tight for me, this is not comfortable. So I'm just taking some deep breaths, thinking about letting go of any muscle tension on my breath out. It's still pretty tight, so I'm going to do that rock side to side. Just trying to convince my body it's okay to let go of some muscle tension there. Letting this leg back up the wall. Returning to narrow legs. Let's do the same stretches with no yoga bolster. This is usually a little more intense. So if it's too much with your back on the floor, find yourself something to elevate your hips. Starting here. Again, 10 breaths, 30 seconds to 2 minutes. The yoga pose would be more like 5 to 10. You can point and flex. This is Hans. This is one of my cats. If you have pets, you know that if they see you on the floor, they are going to join you. Also rocking the legs out and in. Hansie, you're right in the camera's way. After the nerve glides, let your legs go wide again. Good, Hansie's entertained, you can tell. Point and flex the feet. This is that nerve glide. And rock the hips in and out. Your whole leg will follow if you move the hips. Good, bringing both legs back to center. Bottom of the feet together and come down into butterfly. Heels can come as close to the hips as they feel comfortable. You can do a little rock side to side. Use your breath to let go of any muscle tension that you can find, especially if it's not entirely comfortable. Keeping one foot here, let one leg out into that half butterfly or a runner stretch. Point and flex, nerve glide. And rock in and out from that hip. Changing sides. This should feel like an inner thigh stretch. Rock the hip. Back to butterfly. Narrow legs up the wall. Last stretch here. Figure 4, piriformis stretch for the outer hip. Sliding this leg down the wall, try to keep your hips on the floor. If they roll up, you're not getting the stretch you want. So set them back down. This stretch is in the outer side of the flexed hip. So I feel it over here on this side. I know that I have tightness here, so I don't get to go very far, especially without the bolster. It's tight, it's uncomfortable. I'm going to use my breath to let go of some of that muscle tension. I'm going to try rocking side to side, just thinking about rocking tension out of my muscles, just like I'm rocking a baby. Just trying to say it's okay if you want to let go of some tightness. We would probably be more comfortable without it. Let that leg return and changing sides. Same idea, keep those hips on the floor while you slide down. This side's tighter for me. That's as far as I can go, especially without that bolster. This is tight over here. It's uncomfortable. I'm going to use my breath to try to let go of some tension. I'm going to rock side to side. Same idea. I'm just trying to convince my body that it would be okay to let go of some muscle tension. Just like I'm trying to soothe a fussy baby. Saying, hey body, could we let go of some tension here? This is not painful for me, so I'm not working through pain at all, but it's tight. It's not comfortable. And to get out of this position, the best way to do it is roll onto your side. Doesn't have to be pretty because you're done. So again, these are some great hip stretches for pelvic pain, low back pain, hip pain. 30 seconds to 2 minutes for any stretches. These restorative yoga poses people might hold for 5 to 10. Yoga bolster is more comfortable for most people. Blanket with a towel wrapped around it and masking tape works just fine. You want to wear light colored socks or bare feet, or you might leave marks on the wall. So don't use your favorite wall if you have one. And feel free to contact us if you need a modification or an alternative to anything you saw here. We'll be doing more stretches, so if getting down to the floor is not an option for you, we've got more coming. So take care, and we will see you soon.